G'day, it's fugitive Australian journalist Shane Dowling from the website and YouTube channel Kangaroo Court of Australia. Now, I've just published an article on Peter Dutton's nuclear policy, and it's already been blocked on Facebook. Don't know why. I suspect obviously a lot of Liberal Party voters blocked it, or maybe it was Labor Party voters, who knows. Now, I've put the message that Facebook put up on my page, and it says we've removed your post, but still on my page for some reason, but others have told me that they've actually been deleted from their pages. And I had to set up a new Facebook page because they deleted my old Kangaroo Court of Australia one. Had too many people complaining. I think there was a Liberal Party people complaining, myself, about 12 months ago. And I've set up a new page, 2025 Australian federal election coverage page. And once we get going, I'll have a lot more information on there other than my website or YouTube channel. Anyhow, let's get into the article I just published in relation to Peter Dutton. And the article's titled, Peter Dutton's Nuclear Policy, One Announcement, 4 Blokes and 17 Falsehoods, says Labor MP Patrick Gorman. And it was published on December 15, 2024. And it starts off, Federal Opposition Leader Peter Dutton's nuclear policy could make or break his chances of becoming Prime Minister at the federal election, which is due by May 2025. But Peter Dutton tells so many lies that it is impossible to know when he is telling the truth. And the same can be said with his nuclear power plant policy. So I thought it was worth publishing a response by federal Labor MP Patrick Gorman, who says Peter Dutton's nuclear power plant announcement was one announcement, 4 blokes and 17 falsehoods. And then see if any of the readers of this website with better knowledge of the topic than me can work out if Patrick Gorman is telling the truth about Dutton's lies or playing politics and lying himself. I should declare that I published an article on the 23rd of June 2024 titled Peter Dutton colludes with greedy billionaire, coal and gas miner Gina Rinehart for the fake nuclear policy scam. Labor MP Patrick Gorman published his opinion on Twitter on Friday the 13th of December 2024 as per below. And it starts off, one announcement, 4 blokes, 17 falsehoods. An Ozpol thread on 4 senior members of the coalition and their repeated falsehoods about nuclear reactors. Let's start with Peter Dutton, who had 9 false claims in this morning's press conference on nuclear energy. Falsehood number 1. Peter Dutton pointed to Ontario as a supposed example of cheaper power bills resulting from nuclear energy. Truth. Professor Mark Winfield from Ontario's York University said, the story around nuclear and electricity in Ontario is complicated and not necessarily a pathway other people would want to follow. Professor Winfield also said, you have to remember, in Ontario, we have artificially lowering rates to the tune of $7.3 billion a year out of general provincial revenues to make people's bills look lower than they really are. Falsehood 2. Peter Dutton claimed that the Prime Minister was only promising to further increase electricity costs. Truth. The Australian Energy Market Commission concluded that residential electricity prices across the national electricity market could be around 13% lower over the decade if renewable energy and infrastructure development proceeds as expected. Falsehood 3. Peter Dutton argued against closing coal-fired power stations on the basis that we shouldn't be closing our baseload power stations prematurely. Truth. Let's be clear. This government's energy plan is a response to one simple reality. 24 of the nation's 28 ageing coal-fired power stations with total capacity of 27 gigawatts announced their closure not on Labor's watch, but under the former coalition government. Our government is the only one with a plan to keep the lights on, and our plan is working. Our grid is now 42% renewable energy, and we're bringing on enough batteries to meet 90% of peak demand. More than 50 renewable energy projects greenlit, enough to power more than 3 million homes, and 330,000 rooftop solar installed last year alone. Falsehood number 4. Peter Dutton has claimed that Labor's plan was going to cost about 5 times more than what they were telling you. Truth. We have full faith in the work done and costings produced by the people who have been responsible for keeping the lights on under the Coalition and Labor governments, the experts and engineers at the Australian Energy Market Operator. Falsehood 5. Peter Dutton claimed that every other comparable economy around the world has adopted or have signed up to use nuclear energy. Truth. That's not the international experience. Every country is moving towards renewables. Why? Because they're cheaper. The fact is, nuclear energy has been in decline globally. Nuclear energy peaked as a proportion of global energy in 1996 and has been falling ever since. Number of reactors worldwide peaked in 2002, 22 years ago. There are now fewer. Last year, the world added 460 gigawatts of new non-hydro renewables, and nuclear energy generation went backwards by 1 gigawatt. Last year, the US added 39 gigawatts of new renewables and no new nuclear. Last year, China added 217 gigawatts of new renewables and only 1 gigawatt of new nuclear. 4 other G20 countries do not have nuclear in their energy mix: Germany, Italy, Indonesia and Saudi Arabia. German Chancellor Olaf Scholz declared nuclear energy is over. It's a dead horse. In December 2023, the Spanish government announced it will phase out their last 7 nuclear plants by 2035, with the first to close in 2027. Falsehood number 6. Peter Dutton was pretty optimistic this morning that Australia's nuclear projects will not be the subject of cost blowouts and delays. Truth. International experience tells us nuclear projects consistently take longer to build and cost more than initially planned. Even countries with long-established civil nuclear industries using proven technology have had real trouble building new reactors. Here's a few recent examples. I'll put a picture of a spreadsheet of some of the examples up on the screen now. Falsehood number 7. Peter Dutton was referring to what he called Labor blackouts as justification for his dodgy nuclear reactors. Truth. To date, under the Albanese Labor government, there have been no blackouts caused by the lack of supply. In fact, the Australian Energy Market Operator said in a report just a few months ago that compared to last year's report, the reliability outlook has improved. Falsehood number 8. Peter Dutton proposed so-called small modular reactors for his nuclear plans here in WA and South Australia too. Firstly, small modular reactors do not exist commercially anywhere in the world. Secondly, as recently as last year, Peter Dutton was dead set against large-scale nuclear power plants, and I'll show you that video now of Peter Dutton saying that.
I don't support the establishment of big nuclear facilities here at all. I'm opposed to it.
Falsehood number 9. Peter Dutton claimed there was a 3-fold increase in the number of manufacturing businesses which have closed in our country over the last 2.5 years. Truth. According to the OECD, manufacturing jobs in Australia have grown faster than in most G7 nations, as well as the Eurozone, since Labor came to power. More than 60,000 manufacturing jobs have been created under our government. Over 80,000 jobs were lost under the former government. There are 1,200 new manufacturing businesses. Almost 2,500 manufacturers went out of business under the former government. Private capital expenditure in manufacturing is up since the election. David Littleproud, falsehood number 1. David Littleproud said that an energy mix is needed so that the regional Australia isn't littered with transmission lines, solar panels and wind turbines. Truth. According to a report commissioned by the former New South Wales Coalition government, analysis of likely and worst case land use changes with the renewable rollout to 2051 does not indicate a material impact on farming production. It seems unlikely that the conversion of land currently used for production will exceed 80,000 hectares and more likely to be in the vicinity of 55,000 hectares. This is 0.1% of rural land. About 97% of land under onshore wind farms is either grazed or cropped, and more than a dozen solar farms have already introduced sheep grazing. In the US and Europe, there are examples of co-locating solar panels and horticultural crops, particularly berries and leafy greens. Hosting a renewable energy project allows farmers to diversify their income and increases resilience through unproductive years. Angus Taylor, falsehood number 1. Angus Taylor said, let's not forget, at the turn of the century, Australia had one of the cheapest electricity prices in the industrialised world. Now we have among the highest. Truth. Far from true, according to the International Energy Agency. In its latest Electricity 2024 report, the IEA found wholesale electricity prices in Australia in 2023 were comparable with the US and significantly less than in European Union, Japan, India and Nordic countries. Notably, Australia's prices were almost half those in France, which sourced 65% of its electricity from nuclear. Falsehood number 2, Angus Taylor claimed that Australia had seen GDP per person going backwards for 7 quarters in a row, almost 2 years of household recession. Truth. Just last month, the RBA Governor, Michelle Bullock, dismissed the Coalition's per capita recession rhetoric as unhelpful. She said, I don't really like the term per capita recession I think defining in that way actually abstracts from what's important here. And usually in recessions, you're experiencing high unemployment rates. People are losing their jobs. It's just really, really bad. And I think in the current environment, we're not in a recession. Michelle Bullock, RBA Governor. Ted O'Brien, falsehood number one. Ted O'Brien claimed that if we continue down the path of Labor's renewables energy approach, we'll become poorer, weaker, and more dependent as a nation. Truth. Labor is taking a balanced approach involving renewables, firmed with storage, and backed up by gas-powered generation, which according to the AEMO is the lowest cost way to supply electricity to homes and businesses as Australia transitions to a net zero economy. Falsehood number two, Ted O'Brien also falsely claimed Australians are hurting right now and businesses are closing. Nearly 25,000 businesses have gone insolvent since Labor came to power. Truth. According to ASIC data, and of this government, insolvencies as a proportion of all companies have been the lowest on record, averaging 0.25%. That's half the rate recorded under the Howard government and lower than the wasted decade of the Abbott, Turnbull, Morrison governments. Reserve Bank of Australia Governor Michelle Bullock, from appearance before House Standing Committee on Economics in August, said, if you take it as a proportion of the number of businesses, which is growing over time, it is not at historical highs. In fact, if you look at the trend of insolvencies over time, we're not even back to where we were pre-pandemic, trend-wise. Falsehood number three by Ted O'Brien. Falsely said, we've learned the lessons from overseas. There's a reason why over 30 countries today use nuclear energy and over another 50 are looking at introducing it for the very first time. That is because nuclear in the mix brings prices down. Truth. That's not the international experience. Ted O'Brien is repeating Peter Dutton's falsehoods, but the truth remains the same. Every country is moving towards renewables. Why? Because they're cheaper. Falsehood number four. Finally, Ted O'Brien falsely claimed they are going to be rolling out tens of thousands of kilometres of transmission lines. Truth. This isn't going to happen because it's not part of Labor's policy in the first place. The real figure is less than 1/7 of the figure parroted by Peter Dutton in small addition to the 40,000 kilometres of transmission lines already in operation across the national energy market. According to the Australian Energy Market Operator, only 4,000 kilometres of new transmission lines will be needed in the next decade, and a further 1,000 kilometres of existing lines will require upgrading. Of that, 5,000 kilometres total, 1,200 kilometres of transmission lines is already in operation or under construction. One announcement, 4 senior members of the coalition, 17 falsehoods, absolutely nothing to offer the Australian people but lies, spin and dodgy nuclear reactors. End of Patrick Gorman's reply. And I go on to say in the article, the bottom line is that Labor MP Patrick Gorman has done his own fact-checking of Peter Dutton's nuclear plan announcement. And the question is, Patrick Gorman's fact-checking is true and correct. Nuclear power will be an issue that will chew up a lot of time during the federal election, whether we like it or not, because Peter Dutton is pushing nuclear power. Labor will be happy for him to push it, as it allows them to respond on an issue they believe is a loser for Dutton and the opposition. The bonus for Labor is the distraction of nuclear power takes the focus away from other issues that they don't want to discuss, like the failed National Anti-Corruption Commission, whistleblower protection and cost of living. If Peter Dutton loses the federal election, I think it will go down in history as the election that Gina and Rupert lost it for the Liberals. Now, that's the end of the article, and you can go to my website, Kangaroo Court of Australia. You can read the full article there, and there's plenty of links in that article you can click on for further information. But the article obviously upset someone because there's been a few complaints on Facebook, and they've been deleting the link to the article. So it's more important than normal. Make sure you share this video on social media, and please hit the like and subscribe button and notification button. And Kangaroo Court of Australia's independent media. I publish a website and a YouTube channel, and I'm 100% crowdfunded from viewers like yourself. So please support my PayPal account or Patreon account. You can donate any amount, $3, $5, $10, $15, $20, $30, $40, $50 a month, whatever suits your budget. All helps out in a big way. Or you can do one-off donations, and the links for the Patreon account and PayPal account will be below this video on YouTube and also on my website. Other than that, thank you for your time and have a good day.